Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode.
So we're here with Steve from the Arizona Restaurant Association. We're at the headquarters. You call it the headquarters or the corporate office?
Global headquarters, right?
Global headquarters. Yeah. I love it. I love I'm very envious because when I took this leap in 2018, I'd work office jobs for, 10, 15 years. And it was so nice to get out of the office. And then after a while, I'm like, I'd like to go back in the office. Working from home is, it's got its perks, but I think I've kind of run that well dry a little bit. And,
there are certainly drawbacks. And even during the downturn with COVID-19, we were in the office every day. Fortunately, our office is big enough that we could separate.
Yeah.
But we were ground zero, as you know, as an industry. So we had no choice. But, restaurants are a good place to be. So if I'm not here, my other office is a restaurant.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yep. And so you used to have an office at the kind of where Fraser's is.
Drinkwater. Yeah, not too far.
My wife
too far.
manages that property.
Oh, does she really?
Jackie Walters, tall, blonde.
Sure.
She was like, "Oh, tell Steve I said hi."
I sure remember her. Yeah.
She's still kind of running the show there. She has a couple other properties, but I always get jealous, because she has nice offices. She has got the corner office too with all the windows, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, that was a pretty building. We enjoyed that building.
Yeah, right next to Fraser's too.
Yeah,
you can't beat that.
He wasn't there when we were there, but yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, he was probably still in Scottsdale.
He was. Yeah, he's a great, talented chef. I was just speaking with some of his team last week, actually. So he's great. We need more of the Frasers in the world.
George is a passionate guy. I'm very passionate about food. I love to eat, and people joke with me. They're like, "Why did it take you so long to realize you were meant to eat and drink for a living?" I'm like, I don't know. But then I met George, and I'm like, this guy likes food and drink way more than I do. George is a great guy, but no, this office is great. This is at we're about 32nd and Camelback.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
33 Camelback.
Yeah,
right.
And how long has this space been here?
Oh, it's been here quite a while. We've been here actually quite a while. I think we're hitting on close to 8 or 9 years ourselves.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's a great setup for us. It's even a better setup for our membership at large because they can have their quarterly meetings here. They don't have to go to an outsourced space where it will cost them money.
Yeah.
And we've got a full kitchen, so they'll bring in a chef, they'll bring in their own food, and that's what we're here for. That's why we exist, is to help our members get through the day more easily and more efficiently, and most importantly, from a high productive standpoint and hopefully profitable standpoint too.
Yeah. That can be a struggle sometimes in restaurant business, right?
It can be, without question.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons I love about it is, it's an industry filled with passion. People that love what they're doing, I was talking to Dom Ruggiero yesterday. We did an episode at Barcina, and we were just kind of joking about if someone's like, "Hey, I want to get in the restaurant business because I want to make a ton of money." Like, wow, this is going to be tough. It's going to be a rude awakening for you.
If you don't have the passion, then you don't have the fuel that it's going to require for you to be successful.
Yeah,
there's just no question. If you want to do it because you think you can make a lot of money, or you want to do it because you want the back corner booth to have your name on it, and you want to bring your friends in and say, "Look at my restaurant."
Yeah.
It's all good and fine, but you won't be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to put it. And that's what I like too about it is, I grew up, outside of Youngstown, Ohio, blue collar, right? Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that blue collar work ethic of okay, you could have this vision and this dream of I want to do this. Are you going to put the work into it? Right. Cause the number of hours worked versus the, far exceed the vision sometimes where you just got to, put the gloves on and get to work.
I tell my 2 teenage boys, I hope you never have to work a day in your life, right? Because I hope their passion is what they want to do, and their passion will fuel their daily outtake of whatever that's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And output of what that's going to be. So, unfortunately, I can see my oldest, that's it. He's an entrepreneur, and he's very passion driven, and it's a key because you miss out on so much. And I don't go more than a day without talking to a restaurateur who not only may speak to their passion, but they also live it and they exude it.
Sure.
And you've got private equity firms coming into our industry and have been for some time now, and they understand balance sheets, they understand profit and loss statements, but many didn't understand the industry. Admittedly, so they admitted that. But instead of trying to build a firewall between what a private equity firm does and what a restaurant does, you saw in most cases a melding of the two, where I believe that many of these investors in private equity firms now love this industry. Right? It's not just all about the numbers. Of course, the numbers have to pencil out and they have to work. But they found something that is what we all know is the most trusted industry in America, is an industry that is the cornerstone of our communities. You talk about Youngstown, Ohio. You talk about the bedrock of your corner diner or your corner pub or your favorite restaurant. That's who we are, day in, day out. And we're the industry of opportunity for where you can grow from a janitor or a busser to an owner. Tell me where else that's possible other than the restaurant industry.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been involved in the restaurant industry?
23 years. I've been the CEO.
Okay. Of the
Arizona Restaurant Association.
Okay, gotcha.
So this is, I think I'm starting my 24th year now. Nice. But so it's a long, long time. I was much younger. Less wrinkles, less gray hair. But I think that comes from my kids. That comes from my kids, not the restaurants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You think the restaurant industry is tough. Try dealing with kids, right? Like kids are, they make you, they make you stronger though. Right?
They do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
Yeah. I have a 10-year-old and 12-year-old, two girls. And they pushed me to my limits many times. But then I've realized my limit is much higher than I previously thought it was because of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. They're awesome. They're great. And my wife, we both worked in the hospitality industry, and we just understand like the value, right? And then so for us, we're like, we want our girls at some point to work in the industry, right? Just to there's so many lessons, so many things you can learn. It's tough. Other people are relying on you. You got to be on time. Like there's so many things that, dealing with the public, right? But anyway, so how did you get into the position? Like, what was your experience before getting into this?
Well, I've been a lifelong Arizonan. I was born and raised here. Went to school in California. Spent about 6 years on Capitol Hill in D.C. Moved back here, and they happened to be looking for someone, and it turned out that it was between me and someone else, and they picked someone else. And then I got a call a week later saying, "Hey, we might want to rethink this. Are you still going to be open-minded?" And I think it's an important lesson for all of us that in life, you don't go from A to B to C. You go from A to X and back over to B, and it's not this perfect package with a bow that just you fall into.
Yeah.
And I still have the letter at my home that is framed, and it basically speaks to the fact that they chose this other person, and thank you for interviewing. And my son said to me, "Aren't you embarrassed by that?" I said, "No, I'm not. Because look, I ended up with the job. 1, 2, I've had it for almost a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
And 3, it shapes you. It shows that life is anything but congruent. It's incongruent.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, nothing will hold you back, right?
Yeah.
And you'll rise to the challenge, and you'll take things and look at them in a way that isn't always black and white. It's gray. And I think you'll be better for it.
Sure. Yeah. It's good lessons to teach the sons.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for sure. And it's true, right? Like for me, I've always had I'm like, all right, I want to find this thing that I was meant to do, right? Looking for this destination, right? And over the years, realized like the journey is the destination, right? And that's like the path that you're on. And you're right, it changes in ways you're like, why would that happen? And then 2 months down the road, you're like, I'm so glad that happened that way, but it's mindset, right? It's your mindset. How do you look at it? I love that you kept that letter, right? Because those are the reminders sometimes that you need that, things aren't always what they seem.
No, they're not. They're never what they seem. That's for sure.
Yeah. And not that was a failure anyway, but those are the types of things that, I try to teach out to my daughters is like, like if you fell short of something, I'm proud of you because you did something that was far beyond what your abilities were,
Yeah,
right? Maybe you
absolutely.
came up short with what you expected, but like you're further ahead than when you started, you know?
Absolutely. No question.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
But no, that's great. So I knew you've been doing this a long time. Everybody knows you, everybody loves you, but I didn't know that long. So that's incredible. So you've seen the industry change many times, right?
What's so fascinating about that, and tell my wife that everyone loves me, because I got to convince her still some days, but the funny thing is in this industry where today you've got robots skinning avocados in the back of a Chipotle. In other quick service restaurants, you've got robotic arms turning French fries. When I came into it in this role, the best way to communicate to our restaurateurs was through a fax machine.
Oh, wow.
A fax machine, right?
Yeah.
So it goes back to 2002. And when you look at all the mediums and the vehicles for which to update people, keep them in the know, I mean, it's light years, right? Different from where we started. So I think the biggest and most striking thing I've witnessed is the level of growth, even during some downturns here. How when I started, we weren't that big as an industry. We weren't that big by way of number of restaurants in the state. Today, we're likely to hit $23 billion in restaurant sales, employing nearly 300,000 people with roughly 12,690 locations. The year-over-year growth is just phenomenal. I attribute that to good leadership of the state in wooing people to come and move here, because people have to eat.
Yeah.
If we didn't have, in my humble opinion, if we didn't have the number of people moving and the population growth to Arizona, we'd have restaurants going out of business because we'd have too many, right?
Sure.
And so, especially in this post-COVID world, so we've been able to grow our population as our restaurants are growing as well and expanding, which is a critical thing to have happen. The last thing you ever want to do is have to close your doors as a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so that's helped protect it. But to boast those kind of numbers and then to expand on that on a national level, we're going to hit over $1 trillion this year in restaurant sales across the United States. Restaurant sales the past 2 years have outperformed grocery store sales by over 20% nationally.
Really interesting.
And when you think about that on a socioeconomic level, it's still cheaper or more accommodating for people to go to a restaurant than it is a grocery store.
Yeah.
No matter where you are on the socioeconomic ladder.
Yeah. Interesting. And I mean, restaurants do it all better than me anyway. So like, why, you know? So I know you got a quick timeline today. I think you got to leave at like 12:45, right?
Or 11. Yeah,
11:45.
We've got another 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. Cool.
I hope I'm not cutting you too short.
No,
Okay,
no.
good.
Well, so I talked with Jamie about this. We talked about a few things, but I would love to kind of keep this a rolling thing. You know, maybe once per quarter, come in and talk with you.
Oh,
and
yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
get the status of the industry and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll. Quick little funny joke. Had you listened to, had I played my cards right or done things right, you could have listened to one of our early episodes with Steve, but I lost the audio for it. So
you're forgiven.
Yeah, thank you.
Probably the best podcast you ever had.
It was. That one was just for me, but no. So we'll revisit, kind of talk a little deeper of the backstory and everything at a different time, because I want to have you on the podcast several times. But like for now, what are some of the things like you guys are working on? I know there's, what is it, Prop 138?
Prop 138. It's a very important initiative that we are working on here at the Arizona Restaurant Association. And to be candid, it's a first of its kind. It's the first time a state restaurant association, to my knowledge, has turned the tables on outside interests that have come in a dead set way to upset the current tipping structure we enjoy here in Arizona. They've targeted other states besides Arizona this year. But it's the arrogance and frustration that we see from an outside group to come in and say, here's how you should pay your employees. Here's what you should be doing, when they know nothing about the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
When their own efforts don't afford them in some cases to pay their employees what they should be paid, or even sometimes stiff their employees. And so it's a careless and reckless disregard, I think, for, as I said earlier, the most trusted industry in America, to come in and to tell our servers, here's how you should be paid. And when 90% of those servers across the country say thanks, but no thanks, we don't want this.
Yeah.
And they want to eliminate our tip credit, which is more inside baseball for a restaurant operator, but it's an important key fact for allowing the restaurant industry to grow and expand, to employ more people, and to flourish, which is what we all want to do, to make
Absolutely.
A good, decent, and honest profit, and to have their employees, who many times have been with them for decades, to stay working there, to have that flexibility. You know, we talk about single moms and dads a lot in this industry, and there are many, but that's why they're in this industry. It's not because they feel that they're making subpar wages. They're there because they want to be able to drop their kids off at school in the morning, go work a shift, and come pick them up.
Yeah.
You've got servers in some of your simple casual restaurants that are making $60,000 to $80,000 a year. You ratchet that up to fine dining, you're looking at $120,000 to $140,000 a year. Those are good salaries,
For sure.
especially when you look at the numbers of hours they work. It's not easy work. I'm not suggesting that in any way. So in a direct response for these outside groups, these unions called One Fair Wage, to come in and try to suggest that they're going to support the worker, who they will call enslaved labor of the modern day, which is an insult to slavery, and it's an insult to tipped workers.
Yeah.
To say we're going to do what we know what's best for you, not even ask your input. It's arrogant, it's offensive, and we put a stop to it. We fought back. We challenged the number of signatures that we knew were faulty, and we were able to get their initiative, which would have eliminated our tip credit, which would have led to surcharges on tickets, which would have done all the things that the consumer doesn't want, that the tipped worker doesn't want, and most importantly, the restaurateurs, right? And I should say, most importantly, our guests don't want. It's really that. So, and as an outgrowth of that, we came up with Prop 138 that solidifies the current tipping structure, and not only solidifies it in a good way, it puts it in the state constitution, so these groups can't keep coming back every year or every 2 years to try and do that. And through the grace of God, through the hard work of the team here at the Restaurant Association, through the hard work of our thousands of members and workers across the state, we are prevailing, and we continue to hold that as not only an accomplishment, but to be grateful for everyone to come our way and understand this, and hopefully to earn the trust of the voters come November.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the tip credit? Like, what is the current, like, what is the way that, kind of works best with what you,
Prop 138, what that does is the tip credit is right now $3 less for a tipped worker than the current minimum wage.
Okay.
However, you have to make, as a tipped worker, by law, you have to be able to make with tips at least the minimum wage. So no one gets shafted, no one loses out. And what the unions are proposing is to eliminate that tip credit and say, okay, you're going to pay them the minimum wage plus tips. And now they've vacillated on this. They are now saying that, tipping is just a public pressure. It's a social pressure. We shouldn't have tipping. So which is it? Is it you want them to make the minimum wage without tips or with tips? So they've, I believe, not only contradicted themselves in an embarrassing way, they don't know enough about the industry to do what they're trying to do.
Gotcha.
So if you take that $3 and you eliminate it, and then you add the $2 increase that they wanted to do, a $1 increase in 25, a $1 increase in 26, you're talking about $5 in added cost to any restaurateur, whether you're a local mom and pop or you're a very multifaceted national chain. Doesn't matter. You're going to be impacted on the number of hours your tip workers make.
And that's $5 per hour per employee.
Per employee. Yeah, exactly. Very important distinction. So to us, your average restaurant would have an added cost of $285,000 a year. That's sometimes more than they even profit.
Yeah.
So it's absurd to us, and it would drive restaurants to close. It would drive restaurants to have to look to surcharges. It would eliminate staffing levels. And so it's just bad all the way around.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing for our industry. I think for our sustained and continued growth is to have the tip credit. So that's why we put it in the Constitution, and we even put a sweetener on there that says we'll guarantee that the tipped workers are going to make $2 more than the minimum wage with tips, right? So it can get a little confusing. It's not Medicare reform, but it can still be confusing nonetheless.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. The voters and others are listening, and they're supportive.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Because I think when I came in and first met with Jamie Stone, what is her role here?
She's our director of marketing.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she is great.
She's awesome. Yeah. So I connected with her and we met up and talked about a few things. So that was, I think, a couple of months ago, maybe a month and a half ago. So to see the progress that's made since then to today is pretty awesome. To show that your guys' work and what you guys are doing is it's moving the needle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're very pleased with that.
Yeah. So I guess before we wrap up, we still have a few minutes, but how can people, whether it's a consumer or whether it's, someone on the industry side of it, like how can they contribute or get involved with the Restaurant Association?
We've got many URLs that take you all to the same place to learn more about this proposition, because it's probably as we're talking about my history, the fortunate history I've had to work here at the Restaurant Association over the past nearly quarter of a century. This is probably the biggest issue we face. We've faced in that time. I mean, we had no smoking in restaurants way, way back in the day, but the wage issues and then now trying to come at what we hold near and dear to us from a profitability and just sustainability standpoint, the tip credit. That's a major, major issue for us. So first, I would guide them to that. We are proudly the founder of Arizona Restaurant Week. We've got 2 a year. We've got spring and fall. We're entering our 18th year on that, and it's been very, very successful. So I would say go to ArizonaRestaurantWeek.com. That's going to happen. I don't know when this is going to air, but that's going to be next month, September.
Okay, sure. We'll have that.
Yeah. And this is going to be really. It has the potential right now to be lining up as our largest one in recent history.
Nice.
By way of participating restaurants, and there's some great ones. So I would just encourage your listeners to go to ArizonaRestaurantWeek.com. All the menus are there. They can map out their whole week. It's a 10-day love affair with food.
Yeah.
and also we've got golf tournaments. We've got what we call the Oscars of the industry, called the Foodist Awards Dinner.
Good time.
That's a great one, and that's growing too each and every year. We have almost 600 people this year. So look, I used to say back in the day, probably 10, 15 years ago, that restaurants were an extension of your kitchen. Then I would say we're an extension of your dining room. And then today I would say we're a lifestyle.
Yeah.
We're a part of your daily life. A restaurant touches your life almost every single day. And that's an honor. That's a responsibility that we take to heart, that we understand that we have to do right by our guests when it comes to the consistency of our food, when it comes to the quality, and when it comes to that friendly smile, right?
Yep.
And most importantly, when it comes to the cost, because everyone knows menu pricing is not going down, it's gone up. And we're very cognizant of that. It's the last thing we want to do as an industry, is to have to raise prices. So we're mindful of that. We're the beneficiary of discretionary income. You're going to pay your mortgage. You're going to pay your rent. You're going to pay your car payment. You're going to pay your kids' tuition. And then whatever left over comes to a restaurant.
Yeah.
So we understand how important those dollars are to our guests. And we're going to make sure each and every day we're going to continue to deliver on that.
Yeah. I take it. You nailed it, man. In 25 minutes, that was tight.
Good. Good.
Like I said, I want to come back and
you're always
and just
welcome.
Thank you. But yeah, Restaurant Week, that's exciting. And real quick too, like for my listeners who are restaurant owners, what's the benefit of joining the Restaurant Association?
First and foremost, we're I think one of the least expensive restaurant associations to join in the country. It's $375, and for that you're going to get discounts on your Serve Safe training that you have to have your employees go through. You're going to get weekly updates from us. You're going to get the hard work we're doing right now to make sure they keep their tip credit. You're going to have benefits when it comes to healthcare with United Healthcare, who's our partner, credit card processing, all down the line. So for the $300 that you're going to pay a year, $400 a year, you're going to get tremendous value. And we're always happy to go over that with anyone who would have an interest.
Yeah. Excellent, man. Well, Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of those 2 daughters.
I will.
And that nice wife of yours too.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Tell her hello.
I will.
Yeah.
They're great. They keep me.
Best gift you can get in life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. They're starting. They dress me now. Like,
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, my 10-year-old. She's like, I don't think those shoes go with those pants. I'm like, all right, cool. Like,
Oh, there you
so
go.
like, good. Like, I don't know this stuff, right?
Great.
So,
That's great.
and you got 2 boys that are, the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah,
the older
hopefully.
one. Yeah.
Hopefully they'll continue. And I'm blessed. Well, sophomore in high school, sophomore in college, and so they're good boys. We're blessed.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. We'll talk again. But in the meantime, what's the website?
ArizonaRestaurantWeek.com, azrestaurant.org if you want to learn all about the Arizona Restaurant Association.
Okay, and then the tip.
And then it's SaveOurTips.com.
Okay.
Or yes on Prop 138.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.